Now, Nicholas, you asked me a question the other evening about like what was the most amazing moment in my research and so forth. Remember what I told you the answer to that question was?
Finding this.
That's right, finding this, seeing this military marker for the first time ever in my life, and reading my great-grandfather's name and reading that he was in the Revolutionary War. And I didn't know a thing about that. I certainly didn't know anything about the 11th Virginia Regiment. But I was off to the races. I mean, boy, that just made me, I was very excited. And I was very determined that I would find out. And so that's when, I started reading. And I started collecting all the books I could. Particularly on the 11th Virginia Regiment and Daniel Morgan, and just also on the Revolutionary War. I'm certainly no expert on the Rev War, but I do enjoy reading about it. And like anything else, I mean, if you have an interest in it, the more you read about it, the more you're going to learn and begin to understand about it. And as far as Samuel and his service in the Revolutionary War in the 11th Virginia, there's books all about the man he served under, Colonel Daniel Morgan, General Daniel Morgan later. And you can get books on him, but you certainly can't get books on Samuel and his service. So that's the next best thing. If you want to know about Samuel and what he did, then find out about Colonel Morgan, because there are books about that. Now, Samuel's wife, my great-grandmother, Elizabeth Underwood Davenport King. So her maiden name was Underwood, but she was married previously to a man named Matthew Davenport, and that was up in Virginia. And the legend is, we don't have proof of this, but the legend is that Matthew Davenport in Virginia owned a plantation, a lot of land, big farm, and we surmise it was a tobacco plantation, because the area that we surmise they were from, or they were lived in, Bedford County, Virginia, and south of there were tobacco plantations. And the legend is that Samuel was like the caretaker or the overseer of the plantation, working for Matthew Davenport. And that's very believable. It sounds very reasonable. If he was in fact a Scot-Irish immigrant, and we feel certain that he was. He was probably an indentured servant. In other words, he had to work for someone who paid for their freedom, right? So many years, like 7 years or whatever. And so that's probably what was happening. He was probably working for Matthew Davenport on the plantation, and we don't know what happened. It probably an accident, or could have been a disease or whatever. But Matthew died rather suddenly, apparently. And so Samuel wound up marrying his widow, Elizabeth. He had 2 little children, John and Glover Davenport. And of course, Samuel became their stepfather. So then when he came home from Valley Forge, he gathered up all of his family, including the 2 stepsons, and moved to North Carolina. However, that's not really right. We have never seen that Glover came to North Carolina And I've uncovered some information, but we don't have anything really concrete, that Glover died up in Virginia. And one report is that he actually died somehow related to the Revolutionary War. I'd really like to find out more about that. But anyway, John Davenport did come down. And the Davenport family were known for building bridges. I guess they were somewhat engineers that ran in the family. And over there in Mills River, where we live, there's another river near the one that you've seen, near the French Broad. The other river is Mills River. And that bridge there over the Mills River is called Davenport Bridge. To this day, there's a sign there that says Davenport Bridge. Well, guess who built that original bridge? The original bridge was a toll bridge.
Let me guess. Davenport.
John Davenport. Hey, you got it. Samuel's stepson. So see, Samuel lived there in that whole area, had about 4,000 acres of property, and his stepson built that original toll bridge, and to this day it's known as Davenport Bridge. Thank you for doing that, Destiny. I appreciate that. We need to come out here probably with a sprayer and so forth and brushes, and do a little bit better job getting it nice and clean. To tell you the truth, I forgot about doing that. Oh, you're doing great. Thank you. We put all these in back in the winter, back in December. And that particular one, of course, it was a big job. Those things weighed pretty close to 400 pounds each. And we had a bunch of them. And so, I mean, you know, you couldn't always keep them clean and all. And that one did get some dirt in it and on it. And meant to get back out here and get it cleaned up and just never have. So there's Benjamin. That's the youngest son. And that's Benjamin King, preacher Benjamin King, Reverend Benjamin King. The original headstone was stolen from this cemetery. But fortunately, there was a book published back in the 80s, I believe it was. And I have a copy of the book. And it was a famous Baptist preacher that had done a lot of research that published a book about other Baptists in this part of the country, the early Baptists here. And he included information about Benjamin King. And, fortunately for us, had a picture of that original headstone in his book. So I was able to use that old photograph in the book to have this replica headstone created. And it's as close a replica as we could make, including all of the writing. Now, slide back just a little bit for me, baby, and let me video what it says here. He was a zealous ambassador of the Lord Jesus Christ for 38 years before his death. And as I was telling you guys earlier, he was known to have started or helped to start about 5 different churches in this whole general area. He was a circuit riding preacher, and helped get Mud Creek Baptist established. French Broad was already established, but he was a key guy there, one of the, I think, like the second preacher. And he established other churches like Mount Moriah and over in Transylvania County, what's now Transylvania County, oldest church over there, Cathy's Creek. This is his footstone. You can still see Reverend B.K. Benjamin King. And then across from him, of course, is his wife. And this one's in still really good shape. It's hard to read, but if you come at the right time with the sun on it, certain ways you can read her information. Rebecca, and of course the shape of the stone. Benjamin's was just like that. She was a Shipman, Rebecca Shipman, and I'm actually related to her through the Shipman family, through the McCall family to the Shipman family. This is her footstone. Those are the only graves that are marked that we actually know. Many other graves in here, but no idea who they are and no way to know. And just rocks, most of them rocks. Obviously some old stones, headstones that, you know, have been vandalized, and again, just forgotten, through the years forgotten, and no way now to know who it was. But this is the Samuel King Sr. Historical Cemetery.